scorn. How does that visage languish, which once was bright as morn? What thou, my Lord, hast suffered was all for sinners' gain. Mine was the transgression, but thine the deadly pain. Lo, here I fall, my Savior, 'tis I deserve thy place. Look on me with thy favor, assist me with thy grace. What language shall I borrow to thank thee, dearest friend, for this thy dying sorrow, thy pity without end? Oh, make me thine forever, and should I fainting be, Lord, let me never, never outlive my love to thee.
My soul in sad exile was out on life's sea, so burdened with sin and distressed. Then I heard a sweet voice say, "Make me your choice," and I entered the haven of rest. Now I've anchored my soul in the haven of rest. I'll sail the wide sea in no more. The tempest may sweep or the wild stormy deep, in Jesus I'm safe evermore. I yielded myself to his tender embrace, by faith taking hold of the word. My fetters fell off, and I anchored my soul. The haven of rest is my Lord. Now I've anchored my soul in the haven of rest. I'll sail the wide sea no more. The tempest may sweep, or the wild stormy deep, in Jesus I'm safe evermore. Yes, I've anchored my soul in the haven of rest. I'll sail the wide sea no more. The tempest may sweep o'er the wild stormy deep. In Jesus I'm safe evermore. For in Jesus I'm safe evermore.
You know, I was listening to the news the other day, and there's really not much on there that is worth listening to. But they came on with the mom and dad, where their child had killed some people. Mom and dad, I don't know which one, but one got 10 years. And so mom and dad are paying the price for their failure to train up a child. And today I want to talk to you. I have been in jails and in prisons, juvenile halls, and everything else. And the young people are another world. When I used to go in there and I would listen to their stories, and I'd know whether they're true or not, because the guys who were in charge of them would let me know. And but I would hear stories. You know what's been happening over the years is our government has been making decisions that really affect you and me. And over these last, 15, 20 years, I've seen where one parent bringing in money is not enough. And I've seen where mom and dad both have to go out and just to make a living. Nothing extravagant, just basic needs. And what do? There's a whole group of people that are hanging out there. What do you do with kids? You know, mom's going to work, dad's going to work, and the kids. What do you do with the kids? Well, I'll tell you what happens with a lot of those kids. And I've met quite a few. And that is, when mom and dad are not home, the streets become their home. The philosophy of the street becomes the way they live. And, you know, it really, really is a shame. You go in and I've been in homes. I had a young fella tell me, he said, you know, I can't live at home. And I says, why? He said, but you go see my mom. So I went and saw his mom. And as I sat down at the kitchen table, I could look straight outdoors. She was living in such horrible conditions. And she was an alcoholic. And so sin passed upon sin, passed upon sin. And sin never gets easy. Sin gets rougher as time goes by. And I have seen such disastrous decisions that are made. And the ones that really bother me are the ones that are supposed to be in charge of our government. They're looking out for you and I and helping to make the right decisions for you and I so that we can live a life, a normal life. And I tell you, that whole idea is gone. They don't care about you. I'm going to make that blanket statement. They don't care about you. They're passing bills and they're passing all kinds of stuff, whether it's Washington, D.C., or it's in the local government. I mean, they're doing things that affect your life, my life, but more than that, affecting our young lives, our kids, our young kids. I mean, my goodness gracious. God gave those children to us, and where to train them up and where to help them and lead them in so many ways. But yet mom and dad, they're out in the cold. They don't know. Mom never talked to them, or grandma never talked to them. Well, I came up in a different time period, and but I think, one of the most important decisions that is to be made is where to train up our young people. We have the responsibility of teaching them reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now they got a whole bunch of other garbage that doesn't have anything to do with life. It's just a hodgepodge and mess. And it's sin. That's the bottom line. It's sin. If you just sit down and think about it and see how stupid a lot of these things are, they affect your life, they affect the life of your children. Years ago, schools were safe. Schools were teaching our children. And the whole thing has dropped. They've got so much stuff. It is stuff. It's wicked stuff. It's not nice stuff. It's not going to help our kids to mature and be a good citizen. So the fruit of sin, we're tasting the fruit of sin today. Go into a jail, you don't have to go to a jail. All you got to do is go by a school. And you'll begin to notice the ones that are so disruptive and the ones that just don't give a hoot. So I've got to tell you, that's the fruit of sin. We're experiencing the fruit of sin. The neglect that God has placed upon our shoulders to train up a child in the way he or she should go and be able to maneuver through life. And it is very simple. Let me just say this. I was in the sheriff's office one day up in Amherst County, and we had a young fellow who married a girl. She had a young child, and child from out of wedlock, and there is this guy, they get married. The only problem is his life is run by the power of evil. That's all you could say, evil. And one day, she was in the living room, and he came home. She's holding this newborn child. And he just began to beat on her. It's amazing he didn't hit the child, but he hit his wife. He bruised his wife. Oh, she looked horrible. And they had to take pictures down at the sheriff's office. And it's very, I'm going to say it's very simple. The thing is this. God has given us His Son. His Son was sent here to meet our needs and the Father's needs for getting us saved. And Jesus Christ came with the purpose to save, to shed His blood, and to take in and make it possible for men and women to give their lives to the Lord and have a good life. But I've got to tell you, there's things that get in the way. Things that get in the way. How about the streets? Streets get in the way. Where's your son? Where's your daughter? You know, I'm talking to moms and dads. Where is your child at 10, 11, and 12 o'clock at night? Are they in bed? In my house, they better be. And if not, you know what's going to happen? Nothing good happens after the sun goes down. Nothing. There are times that we used to come upon, I don't want to say a large gang, but there were 3 or 4 people together. And they were just horribly using the people around there. They scared the people. Well, I know a lot of people don't want to hear about God. I know people don't want to hear about reading the Bible. But I got to tell you, if you want your life and your children's life to be saved from the living hell that's going on today, you need to get your life right with the Lord Jesus Christ. That's the first thing. Your heart, because sometimes some of the evil that lurks in your heart, you know, the kids see it, and that's the way you act. But listen, you've got to get your heart right with God, and that is the most simplest thing that you can do. You know, it's real simple. God sent His Son. His Son came here, and for 33 years, he lived his life here and had a tremendous testimony. Went to Calvary's mountain. He went from a garden of prayer and then torture and then more torture and then went up the hill on Mount Calvary. And that little scene, as simple as it looks or sounds, is the key that unlocks the door for you to be a right parent and to be able to protect your children and be able to have a good life. But this other stuff that's going on, how many kids are being killed and how many kids are killing kids? You know, high school and junior high and elementary school. Elementary school, somebody shooting somebody. Listen, the secret is not really a secret. It's been preached on for over 2,000 years. The secret is the Lord Jesus Christ, His salvation, His newness of life that He offers to people, His wisdom that He will share with us as we're on our journey towards home. Listen, Jesus Christ is the answer, but you've got to face it that you need Jesus Christ. You've got to face the fact that you dropped the ball. Well, you can blame it on the government, you can blame it on the school system, you can blame this one and that one, but listen, Jesus Christ paid the debt. Jesus Christ made it possible for you to have the strength, the wisdom to go through and to be able to train up a family even in these hard times. Oh, I tell you, it's bad. I have a friend of mine on Long Island, the North Shore, and he was training up his family. He was teaching his kids when and how to pray. And so, as they were doing that, the kids began to apply what their father and mother told them, and they began to pray in school. Teacher came on over and says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I have a problem and I'm praying to the Lord." And here's what she said to him: "You cannot do that in this school." Well, wait a minute. And so they called the parents in, and they said, "No kid can pray in this school. It's outlawed. You just don't do that. If you got a problem, you see the teacher. She'll straighten it out." Probably make it worse. And then, they did it again and they brought the two kids down into the principal's office. And there, the principal just took and ripped those kids apart and said, "You cannot pray in school. You want to pray, there are churches. You pray in churches or you pray at home, but you cannot pray in this school." Well, they called the parents in and they told the parents the same thing. Well, the parents said, "You got to pray, pray." And the kid, the little boy, he started to pray again. Principal got on the phone and called the police. And they were doing the necessary work, paperwork, to just come and take those kids right out of school. They were going to put them in the juvenile court somewhere. And so, when Mom and Dad found out about it, they just came right up, took the kids right out of school. Put them in a Christian school. Sounds nice, right? Christian schools are expensive. And they were struggling tooth and nail. But they put their kids in Christian school. They didn't have any problems about not praying. And they would read the scriptures and everything else. Well, you know what? In the Bible, let me just read you something. Here's the most important step. "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy might." Hey, Mom, Dad, is that the way you are? Or when I mention God, you just say he's in another atmosphere? But here's what God says. "And these words which I commend thee this day, thou shalt be in thine heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in the house, and when thou walkest in the way, or when you're bed at night." They're all involved with, in other words, God is not a stranger. God becomes the center of the house, where peace, where aggravated and tears were almost the norm. Everything else, you know what? When Christ got into that home, there was rest of soul. One of the things that they did, they opened the Bible and they began to read some stories in the Bible. And as they grew up and grew up and grew up, it was really great. But the public schools wanted to lock them up and wanted to lock up the parents. It's amazing. Now, I was chaplain out at Amherst Jail. And I was there one day, and they had arrested a guy, and they brought him in to be booked and everything else. And he was fuming. A guidance counselor, I think that's what you call them, a guidance counselor found some red marks where the dad had grabbed the kid by the arm and left some marks. She went right in, got on the phone, and called the sheriff's department. I was there when they brought him in. I was there when I heard the story. I was in the courtroom when he told the judge, if you won't let me take care of my kids, you can have them. I didn't go over too big. But anyway, he served a little time. He served a little time. You know, people are going from one side to the other. And the road that God has paved for us is clear. All we have to do is get the heart right and the mind right. Got to get the heart right. It's filled with sin. Filled with sin. Sinful thoughts, sinful desires filled the mind. And so that has to be dealt with. And you can't deal with it. Oh, you can try. I'm going to turn over a new leaf and I'm going to do this. That doesn't work. The only thing that changes a man is when God enters the heart. He does the miracles on the inside. Something you can't do, He does. Listen, He created the heaven and the earth. He can certainly get a hold of that turmoil in your heart and mind, and He can recreate it. I think that's a good way to put it. And take and get a hold of the situation. I remember the old thing on my uncle's farm. Grab the bull by the horns, and everything else. Well, let the Lord grab the bull by the horns. Let Him get a hold of your mind. Let Him get a hold of your heart. Your children are at risk. Your lives are at risk. What are you doing? Get away from the sin. Those things that help drag you down into the gutter. Oh my. And there's a lot of stuff out there that will do that. You've got to make choices. You've got to make choices that God helps you to make and shows you why they're no good, why they're destroying your heart, your home, your kids. Listen, you've got to admit that you're not doing a good job. Now, some of you are. But let me tell you this. Some of you are probably mad with me. Well, that's okay. As long as you get your life straight, I don't care. Children are the most precious, wonderful gifts that God can give us. And now they're fighting the old battle again, having abortions and all this kind of stuff. It's murder. Ain't no other way to put it. We heard over there when those Arabs went and attacked the Israelites over there. You know what? They took some of those kids and they chopped their heads off. And they tortured the people. And I hear college kids screaming out in the street, "Death with America." I'll give you death with America. I'm an old Marine. I'd get myself a .50 caliber and I'd just set it up and let it go. I can't do that, but somebody's got to get a hold of your life. Somebody, I pray, if you're sitting today and listening to me and laughing and doing all kinds of things, you know what? I'm praying that God's going to get a hold of your heart. And when He does that, look out.